Greetings, everybody, and welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is November 27th, 2024. And on the show today, we have Brad Olsen and Elena Danaan. Really excited to get this show going. Elena Danaan worked many years in Egypt as a field archaeologist. She also studied shamanism, earth traditional spiritualities, magic, and alchemy. She was trained and ordained as a Druid. Extraterrestrial Contactee since childhood. Elena Danaan is the Earth emissary for the Galactic Federation of Worlds. And Brad Olsen is the author of 10 books, including 3 in his Esoteric Series, an award-winning author, public speaker, YouTube content creator of the Esoteric Circle, book publisher, and event producer. His keynote presentations and interviews have enlightened audiences at Contact in the Desert, Awareness Life Expo, and the 5D events, and dozens of radio shows. Brad, Elena, welcome to Conflict Radio. Thanks, guys, for coming on.
Thank you very much. Well, we've done all that in our lives already. Oh, my gosh.
You're just getting started.
Great to be here. Yeah, hey, great to see you guys, and thanks for having me back. As I just said, I'm fresh off the ski mountain, so I was chewing a handful of nuts because good workout day.
Yeah, you got to get that. You got to get that protein, a good trail mix bar or something while you're out there exercising. So I did want to get you guys on to talk about Antarctica and the Black Goo. So let's start with Brad. Brad, with Antarctica, obviously there's something going on down there. You just had an interview with Michael Sala talking about the old Nazi bases that are underneath the ice and everything else. When did you first learn about the Black Goo?
Well, what a fascinating subject, and something people don't really know all that much about, but it is much more integrated into the world and society and in human bodies today than it's ever been, because it's now been weaponized. And we'll go into how that happened. But basically, it was the whole reason of the Falkland Wars. And I learned about it when I was down there. And the interviews on Miles Johnston's channel, as well as interviews with Harold Kaltz-Vella, and I've spoken to him in an interview about the Black Goo, and he's one of the leading researchers. And then other people who talked about it, mostly Brits who knew that the Black Goo was taken back to the UK right after the Falkland Wars. And they tried to backward engineer it or weaponize it or use it for super soldiers or all these different ways. And things went awry at Marconi Laboratories, and there were a dozen or more scientists that were working on it then that died under very mysterious causes. And it got out. And what does that mean? Well, the reason it was down near Antarctica, it was stored on an island called South Tulle Island, was because it's perpetually frozen down there. And the Argentinians were working with it very peacefully. They were just trying to understand it, had no reason to want to use it in any kind of way. But the Brits wanted it. And that's the real reason that Falkland War was fought in 1982. And in my presentation, I give at conferences, and I'm working on a new one and a new book with Antarctica. It's called The Secrets of Antarctica, with a chapter on the Black Goo. So I'm very, very interested in this subject, and Elena's got some information that I can't wait to hear on it too.
Elena, go ahead. Tell us what you.
Okay, so my experience with the Black Goo, not directly but indirectly, is not linked with Antarctica straight away, but it certainly has a connection. In 2021, I was put in contact with cosmic supra-consciousness extraterrestrials who name themselves the Nine. They live out of time and out of space. And they showed me something that disturbed me a lot, greatly. And Danny Anderson, who's in the chat tonight, just saw her. She can testify because I phoned her in tears as when I got this information, because it deeply shocked me. They showed me the Black Goo. So I was explained that it is something, it's technology and organic at the same time. It is sentient technology, a construct, and it is a substance that arrived in our universe or dimension from another dimension. It was brought here. I was told that the Orion Greys, maybe they were not the ones who brought it in this universe, but anyway, they brought it to Earth as a weapon. But this what we call the Black Goo, it has a physicality, like really black goo is the best way to describe it. It's a black rubber substance that reacts to emotions, consciousness, and electromagnetic fields. So they show me the presence of this thing on Earth. I didn't get any location, but it was affecting the whole planet. It was somewhere on Earth and affecting the whole planet. It is interdimensional in nature, so it can be, you can take a bit of it and transpose it into a parallel dimension of reality, and it's still active in your reality. So that means you can't catch it, you can't neutralize it. It's the interdimensional capacity of it. So it's very, very dangerous. It's an incredible thing, and it's it's one of these technologies that are used by hyper advanced civilizations. They managed, certain civilizations of extraterrestrials managed to develop technology and artificial intelligence in such a level that it becomes sentient. Artificial intelligence can think by itself, but it's not sentient. It doesn't have a soul. But when it reaches such a level, you can really merge the two. And when the two are merged, a sentient consciousness embedded into an artificial substance, such as the Black Goo, becomes alive. And it is a very special thing that can be contained and neutralized in only one shape, a cube. The cube is the only one shape that can contain this thing and neutralize it. So why I was shocked, because what I was shown was really disturbing. It was in November 2021. It's still difficult to me for me to talk about it. I wrote it in this book, The Cedars. But the emotion, I realize, is still there because this thing is still active. I saw, there's no other ways of describing it than using simple words. A lot of people on Earth that were plugged into it by the crown chakra. Their consciousness was interfaced with this thing because they had been, I have shivers, they had been manipulated and by probably social media or social engineering, by to believe in certain agendas or scenario or psychological operations, and believing in this, they would plug into this thing. It was a program that would bridge their consciousness to this thing. The programs were like, there was the Galactic Federation of Light, the Ashtar, the whole package, Jerusalem ship, the whole New Age package. Each of these things were a bridge to this Black Goo that would control. And now what was disturbing is that it was feeding, this thing was feeding of the life essence of these people, like a parasite. And these people would nurture it, would feed this thing. with their life force, life essence, and they would get addicted to it, because you need an addiction to be feeding this thing. It's like when you are possessed, you are an alcoholic and you get hacked by demons that are going to suck your life force and use the addiction for that. The Black Goo was the same. So it would feed off the people who would be so addicted to receive elements of these programmings and downloads of information from this Black Goo that they would think it comes from the Pleiadians, Arcturians, blah, blah, blah. So they would be addicted, more. And they would strengthen the bridge and strengthen this Black Goo. And make it more healthy, and they would have the illusion to feed off it, getting information downloaded to them, and at the same, but it was this thing that was feeding off them, and it would make of these people the beacons of these false information, for instance. But the thing is that there would be downloads coming into them from this Black Goo. And they would give these codes, these downloads to other people. They would pass it on. And the way it works, this Black Goo, it's sort of quantum technology, So it may be anywhere on Earth as a solid thing, but it radiates by quantum phenomenon to the collective unconscious of humanity in a way. It is horrendously dangerous. So the best way, I was sure that the best way to destroy it was to cut it like this, by being aware of these narratives and these downloads and information as being fake, and the fact when you just wake up and you don't feel the need of the addiction anymore because you don't believe in it anymore, the thing weakens and it lacks of food, and it finally dies of hunger and dies out. So things got better, but it's still there. That's the thing I got, and it was shocking to see that. So well, I will stop for the moment. Brad, I don't know if it resonates with what you know about it, but that's my experience.
Very much so. The interdimensional part is fascinating too. It's almost like Bigfoot. You can't catch it because it's interdimensional and it keeps evading. But what you said there, just at the final part of it needing to be fed and very parasitic, and that when it can take hold inside of living creatures, it starts to take them over, and it needs to be fed, just like a parasite, a tapeworm in your stomach. And so this is very, very interesting because we have parallel information on this. And I love it when we can connect the data points on this, because it's so mysterious about all this. And the way that the Brits wanted to weaponize it would be to inject it into soldiers. And Miles Johnson had witnesses who were not only on the ship when it was coming back from South Tulle Island, because you can go on Wikipedia and look up the Falkland Wars, and you see that the ship split in the South Atlantic. The one went to fight the famous battles that we saw on TV in 1982, but there was another armada of ships that went down to the South Sandwich Islands and then all the way down to South Tulle Island, which is one of the southernmost pan-Antarctic islands, just 1,400 miles off the mainland, but in a state of perpetual frozenness. So there, the Black Goo couldn't do damage. It couldn't escape. It couldn't take on to people. But the Brits had a different idea, and they wanted to use it in such a way that it could enhance their soldiers. Little did they know that it would get away from them and really create quite a bit of havoc. And so the way it's been weaponized is what we can see today in this thing. I don't know if we're allowed to say the V word here. in the form of graphene oxide is a form of black
Yeah,
goo,
let's
Yes,
as
not
well as
yes,
the
say,
barrel
let's
fluid.
not say that
yes.
word.
Did we say it? I didn't say it.
No.
No, we didn't say it.
Yeah, I know. Let's not. We call
But
it the
everybody
cure.
knows.
Yeah, we call it the cure on the channel. That's what we call it. It's kind of a play on words a little bit. The cure.
Okay, we'll go with that. But now
Let
you
me
can
ask.
see. We'll just final point on this is that in the mRNA and these other ingredients that were inside this thing, the cure, that it gave. Now people are getting these blood clots and a whole lot of other health issues because what it's doing is it's clogging up the system. And since it's a living sentient being, it wants to survive. Just like all life needs to survive. You see a tree that's just clinging to a rock because it wants to live. So does this stuff.
Yeah, and Brad, the information I was given about the GO black thing in the thingy that we didn't mention, that it was a substance that was made to bridge human consciousness to the hive consciousness of the Greys. So it's the same thing.
Wow.
Now that's interesting. That's interesting. Let me ask you this.
It's in there.
Let me ask you this. Does obviously some of this got here, is all of it one consciousness, or does it multiply? Does it have many consciousnesses? I guess if it's a hive mind, it doesn't really matter. But I mean, is this one over here that's this pile of it over here that's alive different from that pile over there?
Could we call it a quantum consciousness? That means it's something that's global.
Yeah.
Brad, what do you think?
Well, I would also say that it has been seeping into the human race, not just since the cure came out, but also through the chemtrails has been dropping it in the form of nanoparticles. And these nanoparticles are breathed in your, first in your lungs, then they get into your stomach via the blood, and then it really starts to take over. And I say this because I am actually a sufferer of Morgellons syndrome. And I think I have just found out how to cure it. And it is through nicotine and the masterpiece fluid, which basically dissolves the nanobots. Because what they do is when they're in your system, they start to self-assemble. And then they get bigger, and then they eventually go through your bloodstream, and they find the extremities where this Morgellon stuff pops out. Now I'll show you guys something. Here's one that I've had a nicotine patch on. And what is it coming out with? Black goo. So the end result is you're going to see this stuff come out of you. And that's what's so frightening about this stuff, because it's gone beyond a disease. Morgellons is now a syndrome, meaning it's appearing worldwide. And it's also appearing in other animals. In mammals are also getting Morgellons. So there's many different ways that it has breached the mammals and the humans of this planet. And I think it's transhumanism. It is the way that they introduced it for this hive mind, that they want to use it as a form of control. But nicotine seems to be what it's all about. And I saw Dr. Brian Artis at the Conscious Life Expo just last February, and he did a whole 90-minute presentation that nicotine is not addictive. I've never smoked cigarettes in my life, and here's a nicotine patch on my other hand, because you can get these things and the gum too, and you don't feel like you want to smoke or anything. But the nicotine was hugely, they tried to talk it down during the cure phase of a couple years ago, saying people shouldn't smoke cigarettes because they didn't catch the thing and they didn't need the shot. So nicotine has been very demonized, especially in the last few years, but it's actually a miracle cure in this form as the first thing that doesn't extract it. It doesn't break it down. It just dissolves it. And so then I saw the fifth column people in Spain, Il Cumba Columna. I'm not saying that right. It's a Spanish name, but they're doing a lot of under the microscope looks at the thingy dig, and they're finding that not only do these nanobots self-assemble, and they're blackish in color sometimes, and they kind of ooze this out, but then they injected it with nicotine and distilled water, and you can see it under a microscope. It clings to it and then breaks it up and dissolves it. So this is the first time I've actually talked about this in a public space, and I don't want to really say that this is the cure until I know myself I've gotten rid of it. Yeah. But I'm showing a lot.
You're saying you've got black goo inside of you?
It's right here, man.
How did you get it? Do we all have it? I mean,
yeah, it does seem to be a syndrome worldwide. My family happens to be Rh negative blood type, and that seems in the early years of morgellons, they were finding that most people that were Rh negative were afflicted by it because our bodies are attempting to expel it. Where in 85% of the world that is Rh blood type positive, it is absorbing it. This is just kind of a big picture of our DNA as well. It seems to have a different effect on different kind of people.
Elena, what do you think? Do you think that the whole idea of this is to, I mean, obviously it hasn't been if it's brought here, then what would, I mean, did they want to connect the entire Earth, the animals, everything to just one consciousness?
Well, what I was told, it was the Greys from Orion, the Nebu or Dominion, who brought this thing. They wanted to take over the planet, but regarding the prime directives and laws of non-intervention, they couldn't just arrive and take it. There would have been a war with other organizations such as the Galactic Federation of Worlds. So what they do on all the worlds they want to conquer was to infiltrate and get the population replaced with the consent of the population. When you got the consent of the population, you are not out of law regarding these laws of non-intervention. So their goal was to first create a program of hybridization of the human population to be able to replace the humans. So that's the 1955 agreements with the MJ12, etc. We all know about, to abduct people in exchange of technology. That was a bit of a joke. Millions of people have been abducted every year to be breeders for hybrids, gray human hybrids. But the things went a bit belly up for the Greys, because in 2021, it was a great year, the hive was neutralized. Their Orion hive, the queen consciousness in the Orion M42 nebula, was neutralized, and the Greys were expelled from Earth and completely dismantled. But seeing that coming, they put in place a speeding up program to interface the rest of the humanity they couldn't kill to the hive mind consciousness of their hive. And because there wasn't enough time anymore, they wouldn't bring all these hybrids suddenly on Earth. They had to interface the population first, either kill everyone, which they didn't have enough time anymore. They were working, of course, with the deep state. We know all the agendas of the deep state to cull the population. That there wasn't enough time, so they came up with this emergency genetic interface, putting this poison into people to create a bridge between their consciousness and the hive to assimilate. It's like, it's like the Borgs in Star Trek. It's the same thing. And it's funny because it's in a cube also. Oh, sorry, I speak fast because I have a lot of information. But Brad, I have a question. When they found these and these containers of Black Goo that sit on the South Falkland Island. You remember the shape of the containers?
Yeah, Miles Johnson, I did an interview with him. I'm going to reprint our conversation because he knew a sailor on that ship that went down to South Tulle Island, which is where the Falkland Wars ended, which is also very peculiar because it was just a research station with 8 scientists, and all 8 of them had no guns, and they put up a white flag, and the papers were signed on the ship right off of the base. And then the British destroyed the base on South Tulle Island. They put the Black Goo in just basic 50-gallon drums, I'm pretty sure he said, sealed them up. But it was already showing signs that it was getting out as soon as they got up to warmer climates, because, of course, they had to cross over the equator to get back up to Britain. So by the time they got to Britain, it had already started to wreak havoc with some of the crew. And they got it over to Marconi Laboratories, and then it really went haywire. But Miles told me that they also had started to experiment with soldiers in the late 1980s with it. And they were trying to get them to have some superhuman abilities that they would be able to withstand heat or cold, or maybe even going into outer space with it. But what do they want out of soldiers? Obedient order takers. So a hive mind would work perfect for that too. And now the Brits, they're picking a fight with Russia along with France and the US. I wonder if they might be saving their super soldiers to send over to the Ukraine, because there have been reports that in the early phases of the Ukraine war, they were sending these, they already had super soldiers, some of them in Ukraine, or maybe from some of the bases in Romania, Elena, and maybe we should talk about that too, because this is probably where they're doing this kind of experimentation right now. But these super soldier guys would be running at the Russians. They're shooting and shooting and shooting them, and they wouldn't go down. So they have some kind of superhuman abilities with this stuff in them too, I suspect.
Yeah. I wondered if these containers were cubes. That was my original question. That would have been interesting.
So there was a cave on South Tulle Island, and I've looked at it many times on Google Earth, which just happens to be a little line of obscurity, so you can't see where the base was or the cave, which was right there. But it's on the northern tip of South Tulle Island. If you put it in Google Earth, you can find it. And that's where it was. And I have pictures of it where the base was and the ship there when they signed the paper. It was so top secret, they even called it Operation Keyhole, because that's what the whole Falkland Wars was about. But then my understanding is it was in a solid state, that it wasn't fluid yet. Not until it got up to the warmer climates, then it started to take on this personality and become active. And there's even videos on YouTube I saw where 2 jars, it's like tar, right? It is Black Goo, and it's not moving. But when you bring the 2 jars together, it starts to activate. It knows when it's around itself, and it wants to self-assemble with it. And look at how the Hollywood has also portrayed it, first in the 50s with the movie The Blob, and then it's in an X-Files episode, and Elysium, and all these other movies. And now the celebrities are like covering themselves in it while holding an eye close. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
I sent a picture of that in our group chat that I found interesting. What's up with the celebrities being all about this stuff? Like, are they all being controlled via hive mind at this point?
Good question. Or maybe the little real lizard that climbs in there too when they get the black eye club. It's so weird, man. Elena, you know so much more about the hybridization and the elites and how they're meddling with it, but also how they're throwing this transhumanism stuff on all the rest of us. Yeah, and that's why I think it's important that we discuss it and try to help people understand what we're dealing with here.
We need to be very careful what we allow Elon Musk to do.
Yeah, no chip in my brain for Neuralink. No thanks.
Yeah,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, the two jars, that you explain, it's to me really illustrating the quantum consciousness system.
Right. Because it's not even in physical contact, but it knows the other is around. And so same thing when it gets in our body, maybe it knows to self-assemble once something is already in there, and then it's re-injected or breathed in again.
Yeah, Richard Minish says it's also in Spider-Man. We've seen that with isn't that Venom?
In the movie Venom, yeah. I mean, list them all. There are so many.
Yeah, let me ask you this, Elena. Couldn't the Greys use this as a way to reconnect their hive mind?
They know because the queen is dead. The hive doesn't exist anymore.
Oh, so they're not even around anymore.
Yes, so it is something that is still there, toxic, but not connected to anything anymore. But it's a toxic. It's something you don't want to have anyway. So.
Wow, that's absolutely.
But I mean, it's not connected with the hive anymore, but it can be used to other means. It's still something that can be weaponized, as you say, Brad.
Yeah, and I think already has been, and now we know that they want to off quite a sizable portion of the human population. If they can't control us, get rid of us. But if they can control us, this is the way to do it. That we're going to do it, and it's
Soldier's Life blasted out the perfect comet. The bell disrupted Venom. Isn't that, or could be? I mean, have we not noticed the bells disappearing all over the world? 200-300 years ago, they started getting rid of all the bells, and you got to wonder. Soldier's Voice for Life is right on it there. It's the bells, right? The frequency that maybe that's how you fight it. We gotta bring back the bells. Right?
Yeah, well, maybe frequency can attack it. But you know how they always say that every time there's some kind of introduced new thing, there's always going to be a cure for it somewhere in the natural world. There's always going to be a real simple way to deal with it. And another way is borax, the stuff you'd use in your laundry. That also breaks down the nanobots as well. So my suggestion for anybody, even if they're not showing signs of it, and Dr. Merlecki, I'm not pronouncing that right either. She's done a lot of work with morgellons and now these nanobots and finding it in non-shot people. So it does seem to cross the spectrum now. It doesn't mean if you didn't get it, that thing, that you're not going to have it in your body. She's showing that people do. That's why it's become a syndrome. And so nature always provides a very simple cure. And here it is, nicotine and borax. But also what they found with the masterpiece, Dr. Young and others are finding that these droplets, and I'm taking those too, and I'm seeing very positive results from the two.
I believe zeolite crystals as well, powder does it as well. It eliminates the heavy metals, but this thing that is in the cure, zeolite flushes it as well.
Awesome. It's great to get this information out there. If any of you can do any one of these things and then comment on the video, if you're having any experience with like what Brad's having, how it's coming out of you. Brad, what happens to it if it comes when it comes out? What do you do? You put it in a cube box, or
what can you do?
I mean,
it just comes out. Well, let's put it this way. Sometimes you can, let's say, put a toothpick on it and you will not feel it. So it doesn't have any of your nerves, but it does extract blood. In specific, it extracts the iron from your body. So it might be a good idea to take some iron supplements. And so it, like any living thing, it wants to survive. And it has this connection with the blood is the other thing that's really weird about it. And then why do you think so many people are getting these blood clots? And even with the morgellons, it's a form of blood clotting. It basically collects itself to a point where it just explodes out of a portion of skin, and it always pops up in different places. That's what else is so weird about it. It's not like one location that it just keeps coming out. It'll end itself and it comes out black. And I've had this for over a decade now. And I went to the dermatologist in San Francisco General, or some of the best so-called dermatologists in the country were working there. And I'd bring in a little jar. I said, let's put this under the microscope. Let's take a look at it. They wouldn't do it. And I had to stop going when they said, we're going to have you talk to a psychiatrist and put you on psych meds. I said, what are you talking about? They call it delusional parasitosis, that it's just all in our head, right? So they're just talking their way around it. That's why these Jabberdo things have not been called off the market yet. They are poisoning us specifically and denying that it even exists. So, I mean, but that's what transhumanism is when it's being festooned upon the people without our awareness or acknowledgement. And we're unfortunately going to have to bear the consequences.
Now, let me ask you this, Elena. There's a lot of, I think that I was reading that like 35% or something like that of kids born in the United States today have autism. Could it be that autism is really just a sign of their consciousness being connected to this one hive system?
I don't think so. The way I understand autism, there are two different causes. I think the most common cause is that the beings who are naturally incarnating on Earth, some beings are not are so advanced or come from a civilization so different than the human civilization that they have difficulty to fit in socially. These beings are highly telepathic or uniquely telepathic in their culture. We're talking here about star seeds, and so there's a discrepancy between using a human avatar and having a social interaction and their abilities, which are so much more greater than others who incarnate here. So here comes the difficulty and certainly the symptoms of that we call autism. There are different levels, different sorts of autism. And then you have an autism which is something totally different, that is brought by, let's say, poisons that will make of you a vegetable, and especially when it is in children.
Yeah.
So I've seen that with my own eyes. A child getting this cure, and for 2 weeks being a vegetable and then coming back to life slowly. But yeah, it was horrifying.
Is there any way that could be kind of a red herring, that we're all looking at the cure as a possible cause of this when it's really completely something different?
Oh yeah, when you have a kid that is completely normal using the social standards, that is not considered as autistic, and suddenly you give him a cure, okay, and then the kid becomes autistic. There's something wrong there, right? You see very well that comes from the cure.
Okay. All right. So I want to talk about the med beds. Would they be able to help with this if people have this in them? I mean, I would imagine so, right? Like,
it would be visible. You'd be able to spot it and see it. So when I was at GSIC last October, I had dinner with Alex Collier, and one other. And we were talking about, well, my question was for Alex. And I said, how do the Pleiadians, when they're 200 or 300 years old, how do they always look like they're in their 30s? Do they have a form of medbed, a way to do it? He said, well, kind of, sort of. Alex told me that when you're 30 years old, they do a holographic photograph, and he called it a slide, sort of like a slide in a projector. And you have your slide of your optimal health as a young adult. And then every time you say you develop a tumor or something, and yeah, they can get diseases too, but you put the slide into the med bed and it just reverts you back to your 30-year-old youthful self. That's why they always look so good and they never seem to age. But they do die. They are mortal. They will not live forever doing that. But wouldn't it be great to live to 300 and feel like you're old?
Yeah. I don't know if I want to live to be 300 years old, even if I am all healthy and everything's fine. I'm ready to get out of here and move on to another planet or something. I'm done with Earth. I've been coming back here for a long time now. My time here is almost finished.
Or you can live 300 and more and leave Earth in a spaceship, you know?
Yeah. Oh, well, that could be fun.
There you go.
Here.
There's a lot of problems with that, right? Like just our bodies being up there, isn't it? Like there'd be problems with, I mean, the human body traveling through space. It's there's issues with that.
It's a challenge.
Yeah,
it's a challenge. You need a technology to help you adapt to different pressure condition, atmospheric condition, and electromagnetic discrepancies, you know, because the human heart is beating in how to say, mathematical ratio to the Schumann resonance, because these bodies are made on Earth. They are made with the minerals and the fluids of this planet, so they are they are interfaced with the resonance of the planet. When you leave the planet, your heart panics because it loses the connection with the Schumann resonance, with the resonance of the planet, and so the heart is going to try to resonate with other electromagnetic fields wherever they are, and you can really become really sick. So that's when technology comes, like smart suits, belts, biofields. You know, what do you think? The astronauts have such an intense physical training, you know, to be able to even stand in Earth orbit only or go to the moon. They train so hard, and they're very resistant because they don't have this technology. Well, officially, then you have all the secret space programs, all the things that we are not told yet officially. That's different.
All right. I saw a question here from Robert Bell. He wants to know, and we do have question times coming up, guys. I just thought this was a real good one. So go ahead and ask your questions, and I'll put them in the, I'll go ahead and highlight them so I can read them later. Do magnets have any effect on this? Have you tried putting a magnet to your hand there and seeing if you could pull it out a little quicker or something?
I have tried magnets, not really with much effect. Another comment was MMS. I had a little bit of success with that. It's kind of hard to take it though, and I threw up one time. Maybe I took a little too much, and I kind of had to stop that. So the cure has to be something that's very easy on the body, that we're not going to poison ourselves trying to get rid of it. And that's why I think that good signs that it could be the zeolite in the masterpiece dissolving these nanobots. Because think about it, for the first time in human history, we have been infected with these nanoparticles. And I have a picture in my book, Beyond Esoteric, a whole chapter on morgellons nanobots, that Hitachi developed the size of the pin tip. That's how small they are, barely visible to the eyes. But they've been raining this stuff down on us for years, decades even. When the chemtrail agenda started in the late 1990s, I wouldn't be surprised if it was in there. So at least 20 years.
Are you talking about the black goo in the chemtrails?
Well, but see, this is kind of how it takes this quantum form that Elena pointed out, that it starts as just a nanobot, a little microchip or something that has a way of self-assembling with itself. But then the black goo kind of comes in and aids it or helps it along. That's why this graphene oxide, which does have magnetic properties, so it is good to look at this. But when I tried the magnets, they're just so hard to kind of keep where you want them, and I just didn't really get any results from them. But that's interesting that it could have a magnetic quality. What do you think, Elena?
Well, I think magnetic capacity or/and either, because it is black goo. Black goo assembles to itself not by magnetism, but by some form of consciousness. You know, that the particles will look for it for others, and when they are in proximity of others, they meet, they attract, because
there we go. Yep.
It's a collective in a way. So if you tried magnets and didn't really work, that's interesting, because maybe it has a magnetic field around it, but maybe it's not that at the structure, at the origin, that makes that they look for each other. It's more kind of consciousness, sentience, quantum sentience. That would be my reflection on it.
Because it does have a mind of its own, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Just like all life has a form of intelligence or feeling, or it's alive, but in a way that we've never experienced before. This is a new phenomenon in the human race, and in animals are also suffering from it. Yeah. And I can't help but think it's just part of this anti-human depopulation agenda, that if they can just get rid of us, the sooner the better. That's part of the plan.
You see, I just don't think that they're trying to take all of us. I don't think that they want all of us. I just think they're trying to get us to a more controllable number, right?
Yeah, well, don't they have to get rid of 90% of us to get to that controllable number, as it said on the Georgia Guidestones?
Yeah.
But the people that do survive it, this is what's also so interesting. Maybe they integrate it in such a way that they're controllable, but it doesn't kill them. So in generations to come, if this were to continue on in the human race, the survivors are going to be the ones that have integrated it generation after generation. That's kind of a scary thought, but not out of the realm of possibilities.
Yeah, I don't think they will succeed, because they are on their way down anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have any more help.
No.
I was talking to somebody who's friends with Lou Elizondo, and he told me that Lou specifically told him that they don't have any idea where the beings have gone. They're not talking to anybody in the government anymore. That they think that they're working with China and Russia, but that's probably not the case. They're probably completely been expelled from the planet. They're not even talking to them either. But they're concerned that they're gone. They think they've isolated just the United States, but it's not us. It's everywhere.
The ETs, the regressive ETs, the Orion Greys, Nebu or Dominion, and also the reptilian Sikaar, they've gone. They are not here. They were at the top of the pyramid, if you want. And it's now the pyramid hasn't got the top, it's gone. So the human minions now do whatever they can to hold the furniture, like headless chicken running before falling.
So are we getting close to seeing a space ark come out of Antarctica then? And I mean, are they going to have to maybe fumigate the planet, put us all in the arks? I guess a few of us that are left and put us all in the arks, and then fumigate the planet somehow, and then let us come back down?
No, that's fear scenario. That's not happening. It's not at all.
Another really interesting thing that Alex Collier told me, I think he actually brought it up in one of his conversations, was that through the Andromedeans, who he's a contactee with, they're of course benevolent ETs, but they saw what happened starting with 9/11, is that if we went down this timeline too, that the human race would then be so integrated with the malevolent ETs that we would become a real menace in the universe. And they traced it back to 9/11, that this was the time when this fascism really took off and they were empowered and they did everything they've tried since then. But the benevolent ETs, by a narrow margin, voted that Earth needs help, that the humans, we just can't compete with fourth and multidimensional beings, and then with this high technology that they had, and as well as all the other things that they've done to us, that we would lose and we would be on timeline 2. So according to Alex, by a narrow margin, this Galactic Federation decided, okay, Earth needs our help. Whichever benevolent races want to help, what we're going to do is just extract the Greys, the Chikars, the Draconians. We're not even going to judge them, but when we catch them coming or going, they're out, and now they have to go into the deep underground military bases. And that's where the real war of this age is taking place. I mean, if history is going to be written correctly, it's what's going on below the surface, which may be even this arc. Now, maybe this arc in Antarctica that Dr. Sala and JP talk about are benevolent ETs, and maybe they're here also to try to help us. But there's definitely an Antarctica connection with these malevolent ETs. And there are periods when Dr. Sala talked about these Germans just showing up at McMurdo Station in Antarctica. And I've got other verification that this did indeed occur 2 winters ago. Just all these German-speaking men, military-age men, just like, get us out of here. We're going to need to leave right now. And they are taking out some of the deep underground military bases and the tube tunnels. So whenever there's an earthquake 10 kilometers down and in very anomalous areas, which happened in this 2-year ago time frame, they're either taking out the tubes, which happened 2 years ago, connecting to South America, or even some of the underground bases. And so they're taking the battle to them down there, and that's sort of like the last stand, the last bastion. And it's my understanding that below Geneva, Switzerland, is kind of one of the last strongholds, as well as Dulce, New Mexico, where they have done human experiments for a long, long time. The Nightmare Hall and human abductees in cages just screaming down on level 3. I write about that in Beyond Esoteric, my book on the subject, with the Black Goo and all this other stuff. I mean, these are subjects that have been really taboo to talk about until now, but I think it's great that we can have this open discussion about it and people start to understand what we're talking about. Because I probably wouldn't even believe myself if I heard this interview 10 years ago. But the data points are there. And I think what Alex was saying about the Andromedeans, the Pleiadians, all the good ETs that are here to help us, getting rid of these guys, just getting rid of them. That's why they just disappear, Michael. And the military's not picking up on them, because if they don't surrender peacefully, they just put them on a planet in another universe where they can't do any harm, at least not getting back here to Earth, that we don't have to deal with them anymore. And now, for the first time in history, it's humans dealing with human problems. And this is a beautiful moment, because I think all the other ETs want to see what's going to happen in this final episode of Old Planet Earth.
Yes, they're all here watching and assisting and watching Earth finally rise into its own freedom, and humanity rise, standing for themselves and winning their own battle. That's why I always say the positivities are not here to save us, because that That's not how it works. They are here to support us and assist us in saving ourselves. That's how you pass the next level of evolution, you know. So they're all excited up there.
Yeah, I mean it's got to be quite the show, right? I mean they do know how it all ends though, doesn't it?
Yes, good, very well.
And
Timeline
does
one.
it end good for us? Have we heard good things about how this ends?
Yes, yes, yes. The future is stable. You know, the timeline is stabilized. It is stable, and we are heading towards a very beautiful future. The way we are getting there now, we're still in the midst of the last battle. You know, we are winning. Humanity has won already, but we need just to finish the job. You know, so that's what's happening now, and people need more than ever to stand for their sovereign rights and unite and just, go and discover who they are also. So it's happening now. Privileged times.
Let me
Very
ask you
exciting
this: that if the battle's being fought underground in the dumps, is it the hybrids that we're fighting down there, or is it the actual? I mean, there's got to be a lot of hybrids here on the surface too, right?
There
Or
have
are they
been
all?
hybrids have been evacuated. Now, what the Earth Alliance is fighting is human contingents. Dark military who still have a little bit of power. So yeah, but ETs are gone, but it's a human problem now.
All right. Well, that sounds like something that we could probably handle pretty easily. Honestly, I mean, it's just it's rule of law, right? The rules for me and not for me need to go away.
And so much is coming out now with the pedo networks, the child sex slavery, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, okay, yeah, I'm sorry for
Yeah,
both.
sorry.
But the point is, even the normies are starting to pick up on this, and we're seeing that there has been this malevolent force with humans as cutouts. Humans have done a really terrible things to other humans too, but now it's starting to get out there, and we're starting to see where these maybe these forces were coming from, because for a long time they were shadowing the elite. They have fourth dimensional abilities, the malevolent ETs, and they were able to. It's where that old saying, make a deal with the devil, comes from, because if you do go to these things and do a sacrifice, this or that, you bought into it. That's why this all the blackmail stuff is coming out now too. And this is how they would control people that way. And while these people are, they're hopefully going to meet justice the way they should for what they've done. But the humans, we can't forget, there were a lot of humans that went along with this too. I call them cutouts, that they were just playing along with this agenda, and they, for whatever, to get rich, to get famous, to have power, they would do it, and they would sell out other humans or do really terrible things to other humans too. So when we move to timeline one and towards a golden age, we just have these last few road bumps to get over, and then we can start moving there, right? And when these corrupted politicians are gone, and we can move on to a fifth dimensional reality, perhaps, then we're going to have our Star Trek future. Then we're going to have this real golden age for humanity. But we're still, I don't think the fight is completely over yet, that they're going to throw everything they got at us, really.
Yeah.
And we just have to be made aware of that.
Yeah, we got to start. We've got to complete cleaning the house, finish cleaning the house, and and they're gonna try every card they have left to spread chaos before they can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind that as it starts coming out, we have to be able to forgive people too that maybe haven't been on the right side of this fight. and maybe they were scared or something and went along with it because I mean, look what they're up against. Look at, I mean, we've all been in a situation, peer pressure or whatever, where we've done something bad because there were 6 other people with us that were doing something bad too. So we have to be able to let people grow, don't you think, to be able to forgive them and let them join us in this fight as well.
Well, as a woman, I think, yeah, there are people who need forgiveness because they've been coerced into doing things they shouldn't have done. But after a certain level of action, I will never forgive anyone who put his hand on a child.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, there are
There's
certain
no
things where you go
forgiveness
too
with me.
far.
I know it's not very spiritual, but there's no forgiveness with me about people who do that. They weaved their own karma, and the universe is taking care of them. It's not me or other people to forgive them. With the universe is going to take care of them the way the most appropriate.
Yeah, I mean, what I basically meant to say, obviously not stuff like that, but I'm talking about like people that are just brainwashed into the whole
Oh yeah.
left wing of things, and trash talk their friends or neighbors, or
Oh yeah. That's
that's
different.
yeah. I'm not. I mean, obviously, some things are we can still forgive them, but they still have to be punished. Forgiveness is important. That's a human thing. I think even if they're punished, we should still forgive people.
Last thing on the I can say on that
Go ahead.
question is I have a friend, Akvaru, who is a soldier. He said to me, never forgive while you are fighting your enemy. You can forgive as you want at the end once you have either lost or win the battle. But while you are fighting, there's no forgiveness, because if you forgive while the fight is not over, you consent to be beaten,
Yeah,
to lose.
yeah,
So
that's probably
one.
true too.
Sorry, Brad, I cut you. Want to say something?
No, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. I'm just, for humanity, that's what makes us such great people, is to be able to, like I said, when the battle's won, we can forgive and move on, and punishments are always given out. Brad, do you have something to say? We're about to go into question time. Want to know if you got anything else you want to talk about?
Well, just for people that believe in peace and live a life of nonviolence, who never want to harm another person, there has to be a truth and reconciliation. We're going to have to go through this in a peaceful way. I know a lot of, well, let's just put it this way: if you get convicted of being a pedo and you go to jail, they're going to kill you. So justice does get meted out in different kind of ways. Karma is a bitch, and it's very much a real law of this universe. So those people will have their day. But for the rest of us that do believe in peace and nonviolence, we're going to have to confront some very dark subjects that have happened here on Earth, not just in the last few years or decades, but for millennia. This has been a prison planet for a very long time, and it's the constructs that have been placed upon us that create this prison of the mind, or this prison of control. It's a beautiful planet. I've been to all 7 continents. I can tell you it's gorgeous everywhere. Yeah. That's not what the prison is. The prison is the human race being this captured operation to this malevolent force and their human cutouts for a very long time. And we're going to have to discuss that. We're going to have to talk about that and have truth and reconciliation, just the same way they did in South Africa. And Trump's already said that they want to do that. And so JFK files are coming out, 9/11 files are coming out, and it's going to get more intense after that. But you're going to see that there's been a lot of hoodwinking of the human race for a very long time.
You think they're just going to let him in, huh?
Well, no, that's part of the battle too. And I think these next couple months are going to probably be the most intense for the human race. Because now, remember, it's humans on humans now. They don't have their malevolent ET backup anymore. So they are very exposed. And since so many of them are psychopaths or very rich, they're making mistakes like they never have before. But they're dangerous. Like Biden sending nuclear missiles. Are you kidding me? To Ukraine, provoking World War III with 50 days left in office. I mean, this is just insanity. So they're going to try to force this, but I think we know that nuclear war is not going to happen. Even if the rockets are shot, they're going to get taken out. That we're not going to go into that kind of war. That's just so unfair to the rest of the people and all the living animals. So they got their back against the wall. This cabal, deep state, they're going down. But part of the whole solution here is the rest of us have to understand what they've been up to and what they've done. And that's truth and reconciliation. I think it's the peaceful, nonviolent way to do it. But maybe we have to have these 10 hours of continuous play of tribunals down in Gitmo and confessions of these elite for what they've done.
Yeah.
Because we got to get through to the normies somehow. And this might be
stop fighting each other in order to fight the right enemy.
Correct.
Yeah, love thy neighbor, right?
Well, because we've been divided too. They've been very good at keeping humans divided over
every
race,
which way that they
over
can.
everything, and that's total BS. We're all one family here, right? We all bleed red blood. We're all the human race. And if we start acting that way, then perhaps we will get invited to the table with the Galactic Federation.
Yes.
But it's still kind of Planet of the Apes down here. It's got to be a very unusual situation that we're in right now. If you look at it from a benevolent ET perspective, they must just be a gap eating their popcorn. Just, wow, I can't believe it.
All right. So we've got about 25 minutes left of the show. Elena, are you good to hang out for questions or you want to take off?
Okay.
I know you're jet lagged. You just got back from Japan. Can you tell us a little bit about Japan? What's it like over there?
Oh my gosh, it was incredible. I was there invited to give a conference in Tokyo for Miyoko Sano, and the whole day conference, and there were very important people there, high caliber doctors who are fighting the cure and etc. It was really an amazing audience and great success, and I got to go to many interesting places in Japan linked with ancient aliens, legends, and it was quite an interesting trip. But I'm having a tremendous fun. If it's not topic is not fun tonight, so I want to stay until the end.
Yeah, it is a fun topic tonight. Brad, all right. So before we get into questions, I'd like you guys to go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you. Brad, why don't you start? Where can everybody find you? And then we'll get into questions.
Yeah, well, Brad Olsen, the way my name is spelled.com, and that's my upcoming conference schedule and different projects I'm involved with. CCC Publishing is my business, publishing business, not just my books, but other authors, including Laura Eisenhower just came out with her new book, Awakening the Truth Frequency, and Michael Jaco and other people we know on the conference scene. But I'm coming out with my 11th book in 1 year called The Secrets of Antarctica, The Untold History Under the Ice Continent. And so I'm getting into some really incredible research. I'll just say, if you can see Michael Sala's latest interview, it just posted a couple days ago on Exopolitics about how the German U-boats had directions to go under the ice way deep in there to a place they called Agartha. So under ice civilizations, the Nazi bases, what Operation High Jump was all about, including the Battle of High Jump and the Black Goo, because it's pretty much was stored in an island offshore of Antarctica. And it's the more I delve into this, it's peeling these layers of the onion off. And I was down there 6 years ago, and it all started, and it's just more and more intense. So this is going to be a great book, and I'm putting together a whole conference presentation on it too, with all new information. So look forward to
come on the.
when we
You'll have to come back on the show. We'll talk about it.
Got a little preview right here, right now. So that's what's coming.
Elena, where can everybody find you?
Well, my website is elenadanaan.org, where you have the headquarters to all my media, books, webinars. I do a monthly webinar on Crowdcast, and my YouTube channel, where I put a lot of my information available to everyone. My name, Elena Danaan, so that's where you can find me.
All right, awesome. So let's get into some of these questions. Guys, do like and thumb up the video. It does help us try to get rid of our shadow ban. I see we got a ton of people in here, so please give us a thumbs up. Make sure you leave a comment on the video. It really helps the algorithm. And let's fight this together. Thanks, you guys, for coming on and helping me fight the shadow ban. I really appreciate it. It's been a tough ride for Conflict here lately. This is our last live show of season 2. Next week is going to be the season 2 finale with Laura Eisenhower. She's going to be on the show. That's going to be pre-recorded. And then I think we're also going to have Danny Henderson on. Those are going to be our last 2 guests. And then season 2 is going to wrap up. We'll be back in early 2025. All right. So some of these questions are, let's see here. John Dortch says that Black Goo being an artificial consciousness, I can believe, but its purpose. So what is its purpose? Whoever wants to take it.
Well, the purpose of the Black Goo, as I was explaining, it was to bridge human consciousness to the Orion Grey Hive originally. And now that the Orion Grey Hive is not a thing anymore, the Black Goo is probably repurposed and reused on different other agendas. I think Brad has more information about that.
Well, it's to integrate into humans and to control us, to take over this human race if it has its way. But I agree with Elena. I don't think it's going to succeed. There will be some organic cures or the med beds. I have great hope. But the problem is it has gotten as far as it has, and it's already wreaking havoc. And we can see what the results of that are millions dead. And a lot of this is the graphene oxide, and that is creating the blood clots and heart problems and many other things. So some of the damage is already done, but I would like to think that we're going to mitigate the damage and get it out of our bodies. And that's the great promise with the golden age, is that these medical technologies that have been suppressed for so long are going to start rolling out. And Dr. Christiana Northrup, also speaking at GSIC, she has a lot of great information about how we can detox ourselves and also deal with these other problems that have been introduced to the human race. So they got a foothold in, but they didn't kill us all off, which is the good news. But some of the damage has already been done.
All right. Top Taz here wants to know, social media, gaming, working a 9 to 5, are these examples of connecting to the cube?
I don't know really. It can be, but not automatically, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of what we have to do, right, to get by in our life. I like playing video games sometimes, and it's a lot of fun, but I don't consider that to be a hive mind type connection portal. I mean, it's probably a bad addiction that people should probably curb as much as they can, but I don't think that's that bad. All right,
they're great distractions too. They keep us from learning and doing more. Of course, we're still stuck in this 9 to 5 fiat currency. You need money to survive. I would like to see the end of money on planet Earth. In fact, I would think that would have to be our Star Trek future. And again, in Star Trek, they never showed a scene where you were actually exchanging money. If you said, I want a chocolate shake, it comes out of the replicator and can make it for us. So money is really obsolete, in my opinion. I would love to see the end of it in my lifetime.
Now,
And
Elena,
you know,
don't they use money in space now?
all kind of different currency. But to go back to the previous question, I think, mentioning video games, or, it's the problem is not video games, it's not alcohol, it's not cigarette. The problem is the addiction to whatever. Addiction is what keeps people distracted to do the work of going within and, having your own life. So that's anywhere there's an addiction, it may connect to the Black Goo, or it may not. It may connect to dark entities. The addiction is the problem. It's not the topic of the addiction. I want to say that.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Yeah.
And
everything's good in moderation, right?
Yes, exactly. Keep your mind free and independent. It's very important.
All right. And Magic has a question here. Is density and frequency the same thing? I don't understand, for example, when you say the fifth density or the ninth density.
The density of matter is a rate of vibration of the atoms. So it's a rate of frequency. That's how I would put it simply.
All right.
Or you could say density is what you can feel. It's solid, where frequency is invisible pulsations that can affect us.
All right. Soldiers for Life wants to know: are people with heart issues some sign of interdimensional or space travel?
I don't know that.
I don't know. I don't know either.
Robert Bell wants to know: how long should it take to get the Black Goo all dissolved?
I've been working on it for a decade, and I have not succeeded, but I am showing some signs that it's not just the nicotine. Of course, you don't have to smoke cigarettes. You can take the patches or chew the gum, but also the zeolite, big help. That's already been proven in a laboratory. And it's dissolving the stuff. That is what I've just learned in the last couple of months. That's how we get rid of it. It's not fighting it. That's kind of how it wins, when you try to scratch it out or fight it in some way or poison it with chemicals that are just going to hurt your body. That's not the solution.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't even think we know how much of it there is. How much of it do you think that there is all over the planet right now? I mean, is it growing? Is it multiplying?
It's a syndrome. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
All right. Robert Bell, is there a way to repel it?
Detox.
Frequency. Yeah, and detox.
Yeah, and frequencies.
What'd
you
say, Helena?
Frequency, when you use the Rife frequency technologies, that means it identify the frequency of the disease or the parasite, at what rate it vibrates. You have a frequency signature, and you produce the same frequency that is going to interfere it, and it cancels the effect. So it just nullified the harmful action. So that's the Rife frequency also.
All right. Trevor Grassi wants to know, Brad, how's the plan coming along for the next trip to Antarctica?
And there is a plan. I was approached at a conference after I gave my Antarctica talk by this guy, venture capitalist. He's like, hey, man, we want to send you back down there with a film crew. And I said, all right, make it happen. And we're working towards those goals. And the season for Antarctica starts right now, and it ends in early March. So not enough time this year, but optimistic that it could happen next year.
All right. King of Hukamundu wants to know, what's your thoughts on the Black Goo all over the music industry?
Yeah, it's predictive programming. They want us to see it, but not put it together. Oh, that's just a conspiracy theory. Oh, that they're just goofing off. No, they're doing things on purpose for a reason. Because in this free will planet that we live on, we actually have to be informed. and they do it through art and media in an underhanded way. It's called the revelation of the method. It's a very occultic way because we have to be informed in a various kind of way. They just can't throw it on us. That's why everybody volunteered for that. There were very few people were actually forced upon. So they want to try to brainwash us or use predictive programming to introduce this transhumanist future that they're pushing on us. So they can say, hey, we told them in our movies, in the media, in all these different ways. If people didn't listen, then it's their fault. And that's also an occultic thing. It's called it's ritual mocking of people if they don't get it. So they actually have had a lot of contempt for the human race, that they're smarter than we are, that they have the divine right to rule or some kind of power over us. But they still have to acknowledge that we are a free will planet and we do have to be informed in all these roundabout ways, but that's still a way of informing.
Yeah, and I've heard that time and time again. They actually do tell us and show us what they're going to do.
Yeah.
They do. Cheryl Flett wants to know: is there a source you could recommend for the Rife device?
Well, I like to use the Spooky 2 technology from John White, Spooky 2. Check it out. I know it works very well, but there are other companies, of course.
I do know that you cannot go to a clinic in the US, but you can go down to Mexico where they have Rife clinics and other countries. Some do, some don't. I mean, if they have a medical mafia holding over them, look what they did to Royal Raymond Rife himself. They crushed him like a bug. And he was showing very positive results with cancer patients. I write about him in my book, Future Esoteric, that this could have been our future 100 years ago. So he was developing this in the 1930s, and we could have eradicated cancer and so many diseases. But this medical mafia just became so entrenched, and the biggest lobbyists in Washington, D.C., the biggest advertisers on television, they can't advertise pharmaceuticals in most of the countries of the world. It's just America and New Zealand in the Western countries. I'm sure you don't see them in Ireland, Elena. I don't think it's allowed.
No, not at all. Oh, no.
All right. Robert Bell says, what about other blood types other than RH? I think that question came up when we were talking about your blood type, Brad. Like, does it have different effects on different blood types?
Well, I only can say that in my family, which are RH negative blood types, that it has shown up, and others like us, which maybe partially ET. It's really strange where this RH negative blood type comes from. No other animal in the animal kingdom on Earth has the ability for a mother to infect its own offspring with incompatible blood and kill its own offspring. And that actually happened in my family. My grandmother is RH negative blood, and my dad is, he was fine being born, but the second Uncle Douglas only lived 5 days, and he became a blue baby. The body just started attacking the antibodies. Were going after the incompatible blood that mixed upon birth with my grandmother. And no other animal does that. So there's just so much weird stuff about RH negative blood type. More psychic, sometimes even an extra rib or vertebrae. I mean, it really does suggest that there are more than one human genome, and we can mix and match. But when I talk about this at conferences, it's kind of like a horse and a donkey. They're different species. They're similar. They can mate and have a mule as a result, but the mule is sterile. It cannot mate anymore. So, but the sort of this intermixing of the human DNA all over the place with all the different races. I mean, look, everybody blacks and whites, Asians, Native Americans, Aboriginals, they can all intermix and have children, including the Rh negative blood type, which is fascinating too. And it's kind of like the regressive color of your eye. It doesn't necessarily, even two Rh positive negative parents might have a positive blood type baby, but then that kid could have an Rh negative kid. So it kind of sticks around in our DNA, which is also fascinating. But there was signs early on with morgellons about a decade ago that Rh negative blood type people were the first to start showing symptoms of this stuff that the body was trying to just get out of their body, just to eject it, where Rh positive seems to integrate it more. But certainly Rh positive people are also showing signs of the morgellon fibers coming out of their skin now too.
All right. And on that same topic here, Vanessa wants to know, how about MMS or terrain detox solution?
I've tried MMS. I think it does hold a lot of promise for it. As I said, I might have taken too much and threw up, so I stopped. It's really horrible tasting too, but it's worth examining. Of course, you got to do it just right. I'm not sure what that detox protocol is, though. I've not heard of that.
All right. Rhea F says, great discussion. Question, how do breakaway human colonies live on other planets and ships?
That's an Elena question.
Of course, they started by, when they sent to space the first colons, they need technology to adapt to a new environment on the planet. So when they settle on a planet, they are going to build facilities that will recreate the conditions, living condition of Earth. And then they will have offsprings and children who will be born with adapting to the new electromagnetic field of the new planet, and will become a new type of human adapted to this planet. And their children and the children of their children won't be able to go back to Earth and live on Earth. They will need the same technology to adapt to Earth. So that's how it works.
Yeah. Gregory here, I went ahead and highlighted this, said oregano and cayenne pepper too for that other stuff. Do it and it's gone. I know that the cayenne pepper has been showing a great thing for parasites.
Yeah, and morgellons is a parasite. Let's not forget. So other parasites in the body, even candida, this overgrowth of fungus that humans are also, I think there's a connection there. And it might even be the black goo that just feeds the parasites, or certainly makes it easier for them to survive in our bodies. So again, I think detox is everything. And anytime you got an organic solution like cayenne and other products that come out of nature that can't be patented, right? Because you can only patent things that have become combined. Nature cannot be patented. So that's why this medical pharmaceutical mafia has done so well, because they can patent and market these drugs. And so I don't think they're going to offer a solution at all. It's probably going to come up with an organic, natural remedy.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of this stuff get exposed, I think. And to end the show, Soldier's Voice for Life says, I feel like the healing will be all over all at once here before we know it. And that's definitely something we can all maybe hope for and agree to, right?
That would be nice.
I believe.
Well, that's what we have to do. That's part of it. We have to manifest it ourselves. We can't. We have to all come together to manifest this reality. We can't just hope it comes to us, right? We all have to manifest it together.
Yeah, the power of the human consciousness is incredible. You know, we have the power to alter and modify the very structure of the reality. How? Well, the reality, it's a holographic construct. Holographic doesn't mean illusion, okay? It means a construct. And it it reacts with electromagnetic fields, electrical impulsions. And what are thoughts? Thoughts are electrical impulsions. So a thought is an electrical impulsion that will carry an information. So when you think something, you send out an intention or a thought very precisely outside of your head, you just say it or think it, it's going to tickle the structure of reality. And whatever information it carries is going to be embedded in that structure or in other people's biofields. And that's how you modify, you have the power to change reality around you. That's why the letter agencies bombard us with fear porn information, that we create the reality they want. So that's, this kind of
Yeah.
power we
Try
have.
to stay in the higher vibrations, right?
Yes, that's it. If yeah.
I
We
still
definitely-
think bells have a lot to do with this. We need to bring back the bells. I'm gonna hold my line on that one. I think people taking away all the bells was a big deal. I think we need to bring the bells back. Anyway,
the
guys,
ringing of bells is frequency, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The ringing of bells. It cleaned towns. It kept parasites out of towns. They don't like it. I think that, I mean, you go back and look at pictures where they just went and they took all of the bells down and just, I mean, there's pictures of huge garbage dumps just full of bells that they stripped out of whole cities. I mean, it's crazy. They did it all at the same time. I think it has a lot to do with it. We got to bring back the bells. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for us, guys. The show's all over. We're gonna let Elena get some sleep. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Brad, real quick, tell everybody where they can find you, and we'll have Elena do it, and then we'll wrap it up. Let you guys get some rest.
BradOlsen.com or cccpublishing.com for all my books and my latest releases, and other authors there too.
And ElenaDanaan.org, where you can find all my links to my books, webinars, and my YouTube channel, Elena Danaan.
All right, guys, and all of the links are down in the description boxes below. Make sure you check it out. Get over to their YouTube channels and at least subscribe to Elena's YouTube channel. Brad, do you have a YouTube channel?
I do, but since I started getting censored, I didn't want to lose the channel. So my form of protest is I just stopped. But it's still there, and all my first 2 esoteric books, I put each chapter up as a YouTube video. A couple of them got yanked, if I mentioned the V thing. But for the most part, it's all there. It's CCC Publishing and Brad Olsen. If you searched on YouTube, you'd find it.
All right. Robert Bell says that this was the best show ever. Thanks a lot to all 3 of you for putting this together. And thank you, too, for coming on Conflict Radio. Really do appreciate it. Guys, we're going to be doing Best of Conflict Radio for the next month. We're going to do 3-hour shows every night, just old recorded stuff. I hope you guys enjoy. We have 2 episodes left in season 2 next week. I hope you guys tune in, and then we're going to take a little bit of a break and come back with season 3 sometime in early 2025. So I hope you guys enjoy our Best of series that's coming up. And guys, it's going to get crazy. Batten down the hatches and be safe.